here from the Riverdale podcast. We are here today to talk about issue number 28 of That Wilkin Boy. And we're not even going to talk about it that much. There's a very specific thing I want to share with you guys that is amazing about this issue. Let's talk about That Wilkin Boy first. That Wilkin Boy, the titular That Wilkin Boy right there, Mr. Bingo Wilkin, the star of the show. Your average, everyday American kid plays in a band called the Bingos, who you might remember most recently from the World Tour storyline running in the main Archie comic earlier this year. That Wilkin Boy was created for this series in the 70s. I believe Stan Goldberg did the majority of the art. And Mr. Bingo Wilkin is supposedly the cousin of our good friend Jughead Jones. That's the tie to Archie Comics. As far as I know, you don't see the Archie kids. None of the issues I've read of this series, in none of those issues do you actually see the Archie kids. It's a cool, fun premise. Pretty simple, almost comic strippy in its premise that Bingo is in love with his the literal girl next door, Samantha Smythe. And their two dads are constantly embattled, embroiled in some sort of awful altercation all the time. So it's a fun book. Also, his dog has little thought balloon speaking, not unlike Garfield or anything like that. Super cool. Anyway, what I love about this issue, which, by the way, was sent to me by a listener, so Carissa. Thank you very much for sending this along. Carissa was nice enough to send me a couple issues of That Wilkin Boy that I didn't have, and they're awesome. I really, really like this book. I guess we should mention, as I said at the top, it is issue 28 from 1974. But the best thing about this issue is Dear Bingo and Samantha. So, of course, you've got Bingo right there. This is Samantha, the aforementioned love interest, Samantha. I want to share with you guys, I don't know who was writing this. Let's operate under the assumption that it is, in fact, Bingo and Samantha writing it. They are cold and unfailing people, and I will give you some proof of that at this very moment. We're going to go through this letter column letter by letter. This is awesome. All right, dear Bingo and Samantha, I read your column all the time, and I approve of your answers. I am 13, and I like a 19-year-old boy. He says he likes me, and he thinks I am 16. Ooh. I don't get to see him often, but when I talk to him and ask him to come over, he never does. He hardly ever calls. I don't think he likes me. What do you think? Signed, L.H. in Chicago, Illinois. All right. It doesn't tell us who is responding. We're to assume maybe that Samantha and Bingo came to a consensus and answered in a singular voice. But the response is very simple to LH from Chicago, Illinois. I think he suspects you are not 16. Stick to your own age group. Pretty simple and to the point, Bingo and Samantha. Let's move on to the next one. They get progressively better. The second letter, the second of three here, says, Dear Bingo and Samantha, we have a dog, but it has 3 problems. 1, the dog gets on my dad's den couch and sleeps on it. Whenever Dad comes home, he wants to know, has Dum Dum been on the couch? That's a problem. 2, she has a very long tail. It feels like a fan in the winter. I sleep with her, and her tail always thumps against the wall. 3, she always licks me when I come home from school. She runs up and licks me in the face. What can we do? Signed, Pesky Mutt Owner in Midland, Maine. I myself am from Maine, never heard of Midland, Maine. Maybe I'll call up Pesky Mutt Owner. In response, again in a singular voice, Bingo and Samantha reply, a dog can be trained to stay off the furniture. You don't sound like much of a dog lover to me. If you were, you wouldn't mind the tail thumping or the licking. This is a dog's way of showing affection. Do the dog a favor if you don't change your attitude, and find him a new home where he will be wanted and appreciated. That is so cold. This is one of my favorite letters columns ever. Okay, so this is the maybe these first two letters with a knife going in. This final one is the twist of the knife. The final letter says, "Dear Bingo and Samantha, I have just moved to town in Virginia. I've just moved to a town in Virginia. I guess I like it here, but I can't get to keep friends. I only have one girlfriend. She's my friend one day, but the next day she hates me. Please help. Signed, SBF in Staunton, Virginia." Okay, so this sounds like a pretty big deal. This is the kind of stuff, this is the kind of letter you would get in Betty and Veronica issues all the time, or even, was it Pep or Archie and Friends magazine for a while? They had a letter that was sort of male-centered. It was called Pep Talks. That was adorable. So this is a pretty common letter from Archie Comics, I think, is, you know, I'm having a tough time making friends at school. How do our good friends Samantha and Bingo answer this letter? With 5 simple words. You can't win them all. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a small girl in elementary school doing her best to make friends, it's important to remember that you can't win them all. This is the worst. This is the worst advice I've ever seen given to a child. Fantastic. It's amazing to see how far we've come in 40 years. No one would dare give a child that advice now, and that is an awesome thing. Thanks guys for sharing that with me. Go out and find yourself some old issues of that Wilkin boy. They're awesome. I'm sure at some point in the future I will do a video where we talk about the actual contents of that Wilkin boy, and we really get into the guts of what made this book so great and so long running too. Ran right into the 80s. Fun book, great premise, something I'd like to see Archie get back to. One thing I would not like to see Archie get back to is terrible letter columns. I would love some great letter columns, some good advice columns. That would be great. But this is amazing. I will be searching out other That Wilkin Boy issues from this era. If I find any other great letter columns, I will bring them to you. So thanks, guys, for watching. Be sure to head over to RiverdalePodcast.com. Let me say that again a little slower. RiverdalePodcast.com. Check out the Riverdale podcast every Saturday morning. Check out a new video just like this one every Friday. And also, every Wednesday, we've got a classic episode of the old Archie Andrews 1940s radio show. So for all that, head over to RiverdalePodcast.com. And until then, I will see you soon.